Good morning, everybody. Privileged to have this select audience. And considering all of us are coming from a smog-filled, cold Delhi, it's such a pleasure to be here, soaking in the warmth of Chennai. I welcome you all here. We are going to have a nice little chat with Ashutosh. You would have all seen him on television for many years. Anybody who knows Hindi and reads Hindi knows Ashutosh, reads Ashutosh. His latest book has been making the rounds and has been in circulation for a while, getting good reviews everywhere, Reclaiming Bharat. We are going to talk about Reclaiming Bharat with him, but that's not the only book he has done. He has done 5 other books, and a couple of other books are in the pipeline. So we have with us an ace political commentator, a veteran journalist, and an author who says it as he sees it. With him, I have my own colleague, Shobhana Nair. Shobhana Nair is blessed with great political acumen. Last year, in 2024, when most journalists were too scared to say that BJP wasn't going to do too well in Uttar Pradesh, she was among the handful ones to do so. And then earlier this year, she got the Bihar election right as well, when many in the heart of hearts, particularly those quote unquote from the secular brigade, were hoping that RJD will be able to pull off a stunner. She told me well before the results, there's no such likelihood possible. It reflects in her writing in the paper every day, and it also reflects in the wonderful book she did around the general elections last year about Ram Vilas Paswan, The Weather Vane of Indian Politics, published by Rowley Books. Welcome, Shobhana. Welcome, Ashutosh.
Thank you.
I begin with Ashutosh with the subject Reclaiming Bharat, also known as India. So, Ashutosh, from whom do we reclaim Bharat?
Thank you. I think this is the first question I'm confronted with all the time because since I wrote this book, which is called Reclaiming Bharat, the two kinds of question. One, why reclaiming and why Bharat? Why not India? And I said, at least my title has got the book right in that sense because people are a bit more intriguing and
No,
want
from
to know.
whom? Reclaim from whom?
Uh, See, when we're talking about the book, the most important thing is that we have forgotten since 2014 that the India we used to live, it's not the same Bharat or India now we witness. A lot of transformation has taken place, a lot of changes has occurred, a lot of disruption has happened. And probably you sitting in Chennai or in Tamil Nadu or in Kerala or in Telangana, Andhra might not witness, but we live at the heart of the in Delhi and in Noida, and I belong to Lucknow. And I can tell you that the world has changed so much. Even the interpersonal relationship has also gone changed. So I was intrigued to try to find out what is the reasons. I think the fundamental reason is the change of regime in 2014. And normally people confuse that this is a normal change of regime. This is not a normal change of regime. And I say that this is something akin to 15th August 1947, because that was also not a normal change of regime from Britishers to the Indians. So once the power passed on from Britishers to the Indians, the whole paradigm changed. The whole perspective changed. The looking at the governance also looked at. The issues changed. Similarly, in 2014, it was not like the baton passing from Morarji Desai to Indira Gandhi, or from Indira Gandhi to Morarji Desai, or from Rajiv Gandhi to VP Singh, or from Manmohan Singh, or from Atal Bihari Vajpayee to Manmohan Singh. The baton passed at the surface from Manmohan Singh to Modi, but it was the beginning of a march of an ideological state, what I call. We till before 2014, we have governments who had largely has a consensus on the constitutional consensus, the Nehruvian consensus, the democratic consensus. They have a belief, inbuilt belief into the constitution and all the liberal values. Even the left and the socialists, they also operated in the same atmosphere. But after 2014, this whole state is now run by Hindutva, run by an ideology. And one ideology takes over, then the whole paradigm changes. Now, with the change of nature of the government, ideology taking over, it's impossible to believe that the same kind of government will also operate. And ideology has an inbuilt nature that it disconnects itself from the past, disrupts future, because it has to build, disrupt present, and then it has to deconstruct the future. Because why there is an ideology? There are such serious differences with the Nehruvian concept, and that's why every time they commit something, they go back to history and say, Nehru did this, Nehru did this, Nehru did this, and we were a golden bird in the past, but because of these politics and policies, now we are ruled by foreigners for 1,000 years.
Ashutosh, when you talk of Nehru, in the first general elections in 1951-52, Nehru made it an election which was virtually a referendum against communal parties. And then we come to 2014, and more specifically 2024, which was the other extreme, which was basically a vote for communalism in many ways, if you go by some of the pronouncements of political leaders during election campaign. How do you look at it? More so because you call 2014 as a little revolution in Indian political roadmap.
2014, sorry?
2014, you call there was a revolution
Yeah,
which
okay,
came about with the coming of Narendra Modi.
See, in post-independent India, most of, like all of them, except Nehru, did not underestimate RSS and the politics and the ideology of Hindutva. He was the only one who wrote letters to the different chief ministers that this majority communalism is more dangerous and we have to be very careful about it. And in fact, 1951, when the first election was happening, he made it a kind of a referendum on that. But after Nehru, whether you read Jayaprakash Narayan or Ram Manohar Lohia or anybody, all of them, even the academia, the historians, the politicians, they all underestimated RSS. They thought they are the fringe players. So they didn't go deeper to try to find out. And it's so ironical that JP called if RSS is fascist, that I am also fascist. Basically, by making, and then even Ram Manohar Lohia had gone in alliance with Deen Dayal Upadhyay in 1963 and 1967 onward. Again, there was an alliance with them. These alliances had given them legitimacy. Without realizing, without trying to understand that what Hindutva stands for. Hindutva stands for hatred towards minorities, especially towards the Muslims and Christians and communists. These are not my words, written in the word. They want to make Muslims as a second-class citizens. These were not, even the academia did not try to read them. So they were preparing for a very long time. After Nehru, Indira Gandhi, all of them did not go deep, did not try to understand them, and this was the time when the RSS and Hindutva were preparing for the bigger leap. And with alliances with the different political parties like the Socialist, JP, Ram Manohar Lohia, Vishwanath Pratap Singh, and all of them had given them the legitimacy. And finally, when the time came, look at where they are. They do not subscribe to even one element of that Nehruvian democratic socialist, democratic constitutional consensus, not even one. And I know the paucity of time, but in 1985, when they accepted integral humanism as the creed for the BJP, that integral humanism itself speaks and says that federalism is dangerous for the unity and integrity of the country. The federalism, which is so dear to us, part of the constitution. Secularism, they say India can be a dharmaraj, and then they say, go to the extent of saying that it is not the parliament which should be supreme, it is not the people who should be supreme, it is the dharma who should be supreme. And that's why this chorus about change the constitution. I never had an iota of doubt that they will change the constitution if they get an opportunity. This
Ashutosh,
2024,
talking of our constitution, our very first article talks of India, that is Bharat. And Shobna, wasn't there a controversy about this expression itself in the run up to the constitution being adopted
So,
back in September 49, probably?
yes, so it's a wonderful story. It's
I'm
the
asking you because these days there's a lot of emphasis on saying that we are Bharatiya rather than
so
Indian.
these fractures that Ashutoshji is talking about existed right from the genesis of this republic. 17th September 1949, roughly 19 months after the debate, the Constituent Assembly has started drafting the Constitution. Uh, the Assembly takes up the first article, which states that India, that is Bharat. Now, this article comes up for a debate. It's a Saturday evening. There is not enough quorum. The bells furiously ring, and still the member of parliaments do not sort of come to the assembly, and this is pushed for the next day. So on Sunday, 18th of September 1949, they take up this article for discussion. Now, there were a lot of suggestions. Why should we call the new republic India? Why not Bharat? Why not Hindustan? Why not Hind? Why not Bharat Bhumi? Or why not Bharat Varsh? And one of the key persons who moved an amendment was Hari Vishnu Kamath, a Praja Socialist Party member. He from Madhya Pradesh, from what is today Madhya Pradesh, and he wanted India, that is Bharat, to be replaced with Bharat, or in the English language, India shall be union of states. So bringing Bharat before India. And of course, a lot of Hindu scriptures were pulled out to justify why Bharat is the original name and India is not. India is something that we borrow from the West, so on and so forth. The assembly, a vote was cast, and 51 people voted against HV Kamath's amendment,
Proposal.
and it was defeated. So my simple point here is that the hankering for this mythical Bharat that is alive today, as Ashutosh ji spoke about, has been alive since 1949, and it just continues. It's actually the same narrative which is continuing, probably more in a more enhanced manner, and we see it more present.
Okay, in the India we live today, there has been just one thing, lot of debate about socialism and secularism being incorporated later in the preamble during Indira Gandhi's time. How do you look at the socialism pandering out today, particularly when we see the government, on the one hand, not openly wedded to the idea of socialism, and at the same time giving doles to 80 crores Indians? I'm asking you because you have done a book on Paswan, who obviously stood for socialism.
So, uh, I mean, UP itself is a great UP results in 2024 is a great example of this particular. I mean, if we were to look at the clues, so what happened in UP? It was socialism has sort of making an appearance back, emerging more as a counter memory. I would say socialism. It was the UP. The general election in Uttar Pradesh was a contest between Hindutva and socialism. Hindutva's effort has always been to suppress all sorts of differences within the society. Now, socialism depends on very material requirements. Whose resources are it?
Material or existential?
Both. I mean, whose resources are it? Who is benefiting from it? Those kind of issues, basic livelihood issues, are sort of, you know, there in socialism, or one of the dominant narrative in socialism. In Hinduism, you basically erase all sorts of differences and pretend that everything is
It's like a smothering with affection.
well. So, I mean, what we saw in Uttar Pradesh, I would see it as a counter memory that the populace held about socialism, which interrupted Hinduism very, very briefly. I'm not sure whether it will endure for a longer time. And that remains to be seen by the 2027 elections, whether it will endure or not.
Ashutosh, you were saying something about the secular part of the amendments.
See, when I was talking about the India that is Bharat, just recently I was reading Swami Vivekanand, and I found a very interesting take. He says, this India, which is supposed to be a word from colonialism, from the English. He said, "Jo Sindhu ke is par rehne wale, those who are living beyond this side of the river,
Of Indus.
they were called by Hindus by Persians, and by Greeks called them Indians." So it's not a typical English word in that sense that we understand. I think the India that is Bharat, when the debate was going
Doesn't
on,
that what Mohan Bhagwat also says? All Indians are Hindus.
that's a very longer debate, because they think that everybody living in this country is a Hindu. So in that context, that word, that sabka DNA ek hai, everybody's DNA is the same, is not the same, but we understand.
Yeah.
But because for them, Muslim is also Hindu, Christian is also Hindu, and they should behave like a Hindu. And that is basically killing the pluralism of the country, killing the secularism of the country. Very smartly coined these words. The India that is Bharat means India that is the modern India, that is the modern country, and the Bharat connects to the civilizational past. So basically, these two words, they connect to the past and to the present and the future both. For the question, what the
I was saying about the secularism part, you say that was introduced by Indira Gandhi in the preamble.
See, I think somewhere down the line, Indira Gandhi also realized that there are forces who do not believe into the secularism. Somewhere down the line, though I tried to dig out many places, but I didn't really find the answer exactly what was. But that was also the time when the RSS started asserting itself. Because just after independence, if you look at, they were suffering from all kinds of discredits. Like after the Gandhi assassination, Golwalkar was arrested. The RSS were also banned. So for the 2 decades after the independence, they were lying low, except in 1967 when the cow movement was
anti-cow slaughter.
Yeah, anti-cow slaughter. I think somewhere down the line, the Mrs. Gandhi realized that there will be serious question mark about India's secularism.
But
so it's better to put it into the constitution.
Ashutosh, haven't we been a secular country all along, even if not by the name of India or Hindustan as such? I go back to the Mughal era, the much maligned Mughals these days, and you go back to the time of Shah Jahan, when there was a complaint made about some people worshipping deities near the Red Fort. He not only rejected that petition, he said it is called Ibadat-e Ilahi, like it's the worship of the Almighty. So the state did not identify with the religion of the ruler. That effectively makes us secular at any given time. So why is secularism a little bit of an abused term since 2014?
Abused term because they don't believe into the secularism. They have no faith in India being a plural society. They want to homogenize the entire country. They just want only Hindus, and within Hindus, pardon me saying so, the dominance of the upper caste. And that, because if you look back into the history, how the Dalits were treated and how the backwards were treated. Now this whole movement is basically an assertion of that the dominant caste which controlled the entire society, entire polity for the last God knows how many thousands of years. It is basically a reflection of that. They want this country to be like a Pakistan or to be like an Iran. They don't say in as many words, but the kind of I try to look at what does the Hindu Rashtra mean. Sometimes they say India is a Hindu Rashtra. If there is India is a Hindu Rashtra, then why you keep saying that we have to make this country a Hindu Rashtra? These are two contradictory things. The closest which has gone through what does they mean by Hindu Rashtra or how they define Hindu Rashtra, I go back to the Iranian Revolution. Because in Iranian Revolution, there is a democratic society.
Iranian Revolution of 2025 or the 70s?
1979, the
Okay.
Iranian Revolution. And then the whole polity and society is controlled by clerics. They define who will be the presidential candidate, who will be the president, who will be in the cabinet, who can contest election. And there is a council of 12 clerics who decide everything. And above them is a Ayatollah. So I think they do not say that how they want to change the constitution, but they can make India a Hindu Rashtra, a Dharma Rajya as they propagate only by the clerics controlling, the religious clerics controlling our politics and society. And that is closest to the Iranian revolution.
I want to supplement to what Ashutosh ji is saying, especially on the secularism. I do not buy. I mean, of course, I'm not
No,
countering.
free.
I'm not countering you, Ziya, but I do not believe that we were secular right from this. I mean, I do not subscribe to any mythical India where everyone was equal and there was secularism. In fact, I would. In fact, Varghese is here. He was here. There was a lovely interview that he had done with Madhavan Palat, who edited the collected works of Nehru. And you'll be interested to know secularism is a word that Nehru does not use.
Yeah.
He uses tolerance. So there is a lovely digital archive of Nehru where you can actually put just whatever you want to search, pull out of his speeches, and if you put secularism you will not find a single speech because he
He talks
doesn't
of
use
tolerance
the
followed
word.
by appreciation of each other's culture.
Absolutely. And see, the thing is why secularism has become such a
Yeah.
a bad word these days is because Hindutva offers a far cleaner image, a more emotionally cohesive story. And it basically the question here is not the question here is not who is excluded, who belongs to the nation. That is the question. Basically, that is the question that Hindutva is asking of all
So
of
doesn't
us.
it make it exclusionary?
Of course, it makes it exclusionary, and secularism is a very messy word. Secularism can get messy. So therefore, it has become a bad word. Is
I
what
think
I'm
we
saying.
are getting into the dangerous territory. Very, see,
I-
secularism is much maligned word today, but secularism is the need of the day. We as a society from Kashmir to Kanyakumari cannot survive without secularism. I think the two things we are missing out. The one thing we are missing out is that secularism should not be confused as a negation of religion. My parents, they come, I'm a non-believer, but when they come and stay with me, 5 in the morning they get up, they go to the temple, pray there and come back. Well, should I call them as a religious fanatic or not secular? They are secular because they never objected me whom I'm getting to marry or whether I'm praying or not. I think the second thing is when we talk about Hinduism, it does talk about tolerance. There is a lot of tolerance at the philosophical level. A non-believer can be a Hindu, a Shaivite can be a Hindu, a Vaishnavite can be a Hindu, a follower of Shankaracharya, Nirakar Brahma can be a Hindu,
Even
a
a Gnostic can be Hindu.
Ramanujacharya's follower in the Bhakti movement can also be a Hindu, and a Charvak can also be a Hindu. But in our conduct, were we really tolerant? Because look at the history of Dalits and the backwards, how they were treated. We were never an equal society. And that's what Baba Saheb Ambedkar said. We were graded inequality. Every day you take, you get up in the morning and you just turn the pages of your newspapers and you will see, I want to marry my daughter to this. These are not the signs of being an equal society. But what is happening today is that since with one stroke of a pen, the constitution has unleashed a silent revolution and made India equal society politically and legally, but not socially. And that's what Baba Saheb Ambedkar has said. Political equality is there, but there is no social equality. There will be fascism. What we are witnessing today in a different garb is a kind of social fascism, that you can be lynched anywhere just because you belong to a particular caste. You can be ill-treated like anything just because you belong to a particular Dalit caste. So that's what we are witnessing today. So let's not get confused that word before 2014 and now 2014 onwards, these forces have got the support and the background and the backdrop of a state. And a state is a very, very repressive and the powerful instrument.
When you're talking of the state, our constitution calls India, which is a union of states. But aren't we, I'm throwing this question to both of you, aren't we becoming a unitary state where the center controls everything? You have all these rubberhead chief ministers in various states who owe allegiance to the center.
Yeah.
Shubhman?
So, in fact, just before this session over the breakfast, Ashutosh ji and I were talking exactly this thing. How many of us actually remember the name of, say, Odisha Chief Minister or Rajasthan Chief Minister or Haryana's Chief Minister? These are people plucked out of obscurity and put into the position, whether they deserve it or
How
not.
many know the name of the BJP's new president?
Yes, that too. That too. So the whole point is that when you have somebody who does not have political power of his own, that person therefore is obviously going to be subordinate at all times to the prime minister or to the central structure of BJP. And in fact, another thing I want to point out is I was the other day at a briefing by a secretary, a rural development secretary in Delhi, and he gave us a long presentation as to how every Wednesday, last Wednesday of every month, Prime Minister himself holds a review meeting where all the chief secretaries are present to discuss the various projects and the roadblocks that those projects are facing. So here you have Prime and all the Secretary of Government of India sit on that meeting. Never before have we seen this kind of a very unitary form of governance where the Prime Minister is looking at land acquisition problems in a railway project somewhere miles and miles away from Delhi, which is basically a state government's responsibility. Never ever has that happened. The state governments have had a large amount of leeway. And the second and one of the most important thing I want to point out is how we have the number of centrally sponsored projects where states have about 40% of share. The states have not even 10% of share in decision making. The center decides what is the name of the scheme, center decides the branding, center decides who the money goes to. And the latest in this example is Manrega's, Manrega being replaced by PMG Ramji bill, where we see that now the center will decide how much money is to be allotted to each state and where this money will be spent, replacing a demand-driven program from a direction, giving directions from the top.
Ashutosh, what are the dangers of such a unitary form of government?
See, I go back in their literature, in their text, and I find an answer. Because if you read Golwalkar, he vehemently argues and advocates for a unitary form of the government, where there should be one leader, one legislature, and one country. So in their thought process, there is no idea called federalism, because this ideology is a product of a paranoia. Okay, and when they go back in history and try to understand why Hindus for such a long period of time, which they think has been ruled first by Islam and then by Christianity, and then they realize because Hindus were not united. And when they look at Hindus within, they find Hindus divided into the different castes, so many castes. When they look at India as a geographical entity, they find more than 25 divided into more than 25 states and union territories. That make them nervous. And that is why they believe in that India, if Hindus has to survive, it has to exist as one unity. And at the central level, when they form the government, then this creating a anonymous faces, making them as a chief minister like rubber stamps, is basically an exhibition of that tendency. And also, let's not forget it, every opposition state has been thrust upon a kind of governance who are making their life miserable, and who knows better than Tamil Nadu.
Yeah, I was about to ask you that. How does the opposition survive, and how do the opposition ruled states survive?
It's very difficult in an ideological state. It's very difficult to survive. You know why I'm saying so? Because they have a gladiatorial instinct. They have a killer instinct to make India a Hindu Rashtra. Opposition thought that it's a normal politics. It's not normal politics. It's not normal society. It's not a normal government. So their instrument is, and their objective is different. So when they push a governor to Tamil Nadu or to Kerala, their objective is to, can they help make Tamil Nadu like any other Hindutva state, something like that. And that is why they will keep interfering, they'll keep and doing something like that. So it makes very life difficult in that sense. So that's what I'm saying. If BJP has been a normal party, RSS has been a normal organization, the country wouldn't have faced so much problems, so much disruption.
See, Shobhana, when he's talking of the opposition rule states facing tough time with the BJP at the center and their style of working, it also brings into question the role of the governor. Do we really need a governor in the states?
Absolutely not. We don't. Governor is a colonial vestige which is left behind. We also, I mean, every time we have questions, we should always go back in history and see where did it originate and how did it come about. Governors were basically the British nominee, British center's nominee to look after the state. Do we need governors? I'm not sure we have any requirement. This was also debated in the Constituent Assembly, though at that point they felt that it is better to have a counter check, some sort of a counter check against.
Counter check or an impediment?
Possibly both. I mean, counter check will obviously pose as an impediment, but I do not believe that we need governors anymore. We have elected governments and that should suffice.
See, when the debate was happening in the Constituent Assembly about the governor, I think governor were supposed to sleep in the Raj Bhavan for 24 hours. And one to get to wake
But
up only once in five years.
What's wrong if the governor is awake and active?
Because the post of governor has become weaponized to neutralize the opposition government, to subdue opposition government, and to follow the dictates of the center. That's why that's why the governor has become so much interfering.
Okay, coming to the title of your book before we wind up. So do we have to reclaim India and the idea of India from the central government and the governors and everybody too?
Of course, yes.
And who
If we
fights
have
the
to go back to the pre 2014 situation where we could liberally, where we can freely think and act, I think even look at what the media is doing. Have you ever, you being such a veteran journalist, have you ever thought that the media can be something like this? I work in television for good 21 years. I never thought that a situation will come when the questions will never be asked to the Prime Minister or to the cabinet and to the small BJP leaders, but questions will be asked only with the opposition and especially to the Rahul Gandhi, something like this. And I know for a fact that the instructions are given from the top to the media houses and to the propagandists, that if some snake had died in Colombia, blame Rahul Gandhi for that, something like this. And I know for a fact, I'm not just faffing around. So, and this is what is happening around. So every debate and discourse comes to that. And then Hindu-Muslim binary. This has never been a part of the media discourse ever in the past. In the positive say, but not something like this, that you create a monster out of everything.
Okay, we are living in the age of an inverted pyramid in our country, be it politics or society or culture, so to say. So I guess it's the best to listen to the common man. And with this, I throw the house open to all of you to ask questions to the two panelists, and I'll happily step aside.
Can I raise a question?
Sir.
I hope I'm audible to all.
Yes.
Yes.
You'll be more audible with the mic in your hand.
Congratulations for the books,
Thank you, sir.
the authors. The discussion, I must confess, has been very disappointing. We thought that we have come here to listen how to reclaim India, that is Bharat. What we have been listening is beating around the bush about the revolution in 2014. Would you tell us how to reclaim? Thank you.
How to reclaim? See, if you read this book, there are the two currents. One is how the RSS is trying to reclaim India of the old civilization, and then how after 2014 the liberal constitutionalists and the democracy, they want to reclaim Bharat, which they lost in 2014. I think you can reclaim only going back to what the constitution preaches us. There's no other way.
The
Otherwise,
idea-
we are heading for a dead end.
The idea essentially is to revive the spirit of the Constitution.
Spirit of the constitution. I wish I had the answer, but the answer which I have, because I'm a firm believer in Indian Constitution, and Indian Constitution is the best thing which could be offered to this country. I wish I could be an astrologer, I could answer your question.
Sir, what are the global challenges have you seen when you're writing the book? Because the global countries impact the India greatly. For example, there is war going on in Ukraine and all that. Any issues, liberalization and all that global ideologies have you considered in writing the book in challenges being faced by India? Thank you.
See, this book is basically about 2024 parliamentary election, which I tried to look through the ideological point of view. But what I have reached to the conclusion while writing the book and my earlier book, which is called Hindu Rashtra, that this rise of the right is just not an accident. There are serious reasons behind it. There is a serious disappointment, disorientation, and disgust with the old left liberal order. And because it has failed to address the questions, because this order was created after 1945, after the Second World War. So that time has passed since then. It's almost 70, 80 years. We are still being governed and being looked after by that old order. Globally, a new order has to come up. It has to deal with the two most important issues. One is it has to deal with the religion. Another, it has to deal with the migration. Migration not only globally, but within India too. Because people like from UP and Bihar, when they go to Mumbai and Maharashtra, they are ill-treated sometimes, which is not an accident of history. So I think unless the new order comes up, unless we try to understand this global phenomena, we will not be in a position to understand what is Trump phenomena, what is the Hungarian leader doing, what Mr. Modi is doing in this country. So it's not an isolated incident in that sense.
No, I think he also meant our immediate neighbors, all the political ramifications of what is happening in Nepal, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka. How does it impact India?
Sorry?
How does it impact India?
See, I think the biggest problem which we are facing right now is that our domestic policy is dictating our foreign policy. The more we talk about Bangladesh, the possibility is the more we are going to antagonize Bangladesh. We have already lost Bangladesh in that sense. There are certain things which has to be dealt at the diplomatic level. The same issues should have been addressed by picking a phone and talking to our counterpart in Bangladesh, instead of creating a political noise about it. And then you antagonize, like whole issue about the Mustafizur Hassan. I think it's a non-issue in that sense. We all can sympathize that yes, our brothers, Hindu brothers are being killed in Bangladesh. But just creating a noise in this country, will it solve the problem? Has it stopped the killing of Hindus there? No, it has not. And then think about it. Muslims are being lynched in this country. But when the America and the Middle East and the Pakistan and other countries, they start talking about it, then we get very upset and we say, why are you interfering in our internal affairs? So were we not doing something like that? So I think the foreign policy is a different ball game altogether. It should not be dictated by our domestic ideological politics. And that is where we are having a problem. Because when Mr. Trump is contesting election, that we believe in our heart that Sanatani will be there in the White House and all the problems will be sorted out. Now what happened? Now the biggest Sanatani in the White House is the biggest disappointment. He's trying to humiliate us every drop of the war, every drop of a hat. This has happened. Why? Because we did not believe that the women were contesting against Trump. She didn't believe into the right-wing ideology. So you hated her. Now look at what you got in bargain.
Before we wind up, I have time for just one last question.
Hello, this is Ibrahim here. Thank you so much for giving your time and life working on that important issue of our generation. And it's very vital. But I wanted to say and understand from you. So basically, we cannot leave anybody behind to build this nation. For example, people have opposing view, what do you call, militant view. Still, we need to carry them together to build a new vision, which is our old vision of the Constitution. Correct? Because we cannot leave the people who are very opposed or radical. We need to carry them forward. I think we all will agree. I just walked in from the other auditorium to here, where Justice Chandrachud is sitting on the session, and the atmosphere was very different. For example, the topic discussed is why Constitution matters, right? And it is basically like, for example, obviously auditorium is full, and the conversation is very soft-spoken, very, very gentle, right? And so much of clapping and so much of, it is festive kind of a thing. And there is only right thing has been said. Constitution is important. Probably I could have given judgment which is opposing, but I respect. But we all need to hold this together. It is important not to put under
Can you
trials.
come to the question, please?
So basically, like when the minds of the people are in one way, for example, they understand soft nature kind of a thing, right? Whereas when you come to gatherings here, it is very militant kind of a thing, right? A lot of people are not able to relate to. So how do you connect with the masses? How do you connect with the young generation, right? To understand this is important issue, right? And we need to talk in a way that they also part of it kind of a thing, right? So I'm just wanted to give the contrast of.
I'm not a politician. I was a politician a few years back. I'm a journalist and trying to be an academician. I'm not here that people should clap what I think or what I speak. I'm sorry.
No, I'm not. Sorry. I'm not talking about clap and other things, right? Basically, like a lot of young minds has to be brought into that idea. They have to open up, saying that why this matters, right? The conversation which is not reaching.
But don't you think it did connect in 2024 election campaign? The fact that Rahul Gandhi carried a constitution, the red book around the country, he spoke about it, and it did percolate the message, and especially after all the comments from the BJP MPs, Anant Hegde and Jyoti Mirdha Lalu Singh, so many of them made a comment that how constitution will be amended if
Sure,
we
ma'am.
need
I'm
400.
talking. Sorry, ma'am. I'm
Yeah.
coming from a very young minds. I work with a small school,
Yeah.
right? And work with a lot of youngsters. What I see is the moment some conversations become heated or something which is passionate, basically they tune out, right? The way to engage with them is actually through some other things, right? Generally, what I see is when we are very passionate and we are putting our points forward, right? A lot of minds are shut. I'm talking about as a individual.
See, if you are trying to tell me that I should be more polite, I'll take your words.
No. The question is to the honorable panelists: how do you carry the larger population forward? How do you engage with them? Because you have been doing it, you have been journalist, you have been writing books, and you have been talking about it. But I'm thinking that how do we expand the net, connect with the younger generation in the way they understand how important this issue is?
Thank you, sir. We got your question.
I think
very
that
briefly.
I personally believe, and that's how I speak very passionately, if any subject I believe in. I think that the truth has to be told in as many words. There's
Thank
no
you.
mincing of words today, because in politeness, we might lose this country.
But I would like to end this note on a note of politeness, this discussion on a note of politeness. Some 15 years ago, I happened to be hosting the first panel discussion of the Hindu Lit Fest, and my guest on that occasion was Pakistan British writer Muhammad Hanif. Soon after that discussion, he was nominated for Man Booker and won the Commonwealth Prize for his book, The Case of Exploding Mangoes. I wish the same to Ashutosh and Shobhana.